organizations to strategize, be it bargaining power of the buyers, be it bargaining power of the suppliers, new entrants, substitutes, and competitive rivalry. These are the five very effective forces which compel companies to strategize. And if companies fail to strategize, then we all know that they do not exist. They die. There was this, Nokia's WhatsApp video of the founder, which was circulated, right? Where he talks about the failure of Nokia and why he had to sell off Nokia. So it also happens because you're not thinking ahead, you're not really forecasting, you're not looking at what kind of strategies can help. Strategies may fail, but if you fail to innovate, if you fail to invent new strategies, then you're a bigger failure, right? So let's look at this presentation, which will give you more idea about business level strategies. So, as we all know, strategy, even in the introduction session, I had talked about how important it is. It also always gives you an understanding of what you need to do to counter the external environment and to also make the internal environment stronger. When we talk about the internal environment, we always focus on the resources, capabilities, and the core competencies, right? These are the areas that make the organization strong. When we talk about resources, we talk about tangible resources, intangible resources. We talk about tangible resources, they are human resource, the assets, that is the machinery, okay, and everything that you can feel and touch is tangible. And when we talk about intangible resources, we are talking about patents, goodwill, brand. All this becomes intangible, which is again very crucial for an organization. Now, where do your capabilities come? Capabilities come out of your resources. Your resources are used in the best possible way, which actually has certain capabilities, and that capabilities is used in the organization. Where do your core competencies come? They come from innovation. You may have the resources, you may have the skills, but if they're not put in the right use or in the proper manner, you don't develop those core competencies. So, what is business level strategy? It is again a set of commitments, actions, you know, um, kind of processes which will give the organization a competitive edge in comparison to its competitors. That means it actually is able to exploit all those core competencies that the organization has in vis-a-vis the market opportunity. So, as I mentioned, business level strategy is the closest strategy to customers, right? When you talk about business level strategies, we are looking at enhancing customer relationships, enhancing the richness and the continuity of the relationship affiliation. We're talking about who your customer is going to be. Is it the rural customer? Is it your urban customer? Who is going to be your customer? And it also talks about what is it that you need to satisfy. What, like, need based positioning comes through your business level strategy, because you're talking about the need of the customer and you are accordingly catering to the need of the customer. So you're also looking at how those needs will be satisfied. So the basic function of a business level strategy is to build enriching relationship with the customers, to build long lasting relationship with the customers, to look at who your customer base is going to be, to look at what is it that your customer wants and how are you going to really satisfy that needs of your customer. I hope you understood this. The very purpose of business level strategy is to get closer to your customer. That is one line you should remember. The moment you understand closer to your customer, then you know it's building relation, building long lasting relationship, looking at who your customer segment would be, what are their needs, and how you're going to satisfy those needs. You also have to look at those 5 different business level strategies, which we'll look at. Okay. And this again is very important because that will enable you to design the strategy. Designing of your strategy is also dependent on what is the business level strategy that you are going to work out for your organization. Um, so, why do we need to build good relationships with our customers? One is there's so much of competition, and if I'm able to build good relationship with offering of better value to the customer, I'm going to win a customer for life, right? This is also going to give me above average returns. So my value enriched customer is going to give me profits. And that profit is what is going to earn me my above average returns. Um, what is it? Why do you really need to take care of your existing customers? You need to take care of your existing customers because you know that these are the customers who are going to speak good about you and are going to get you new customers. So if you're able to take care of your existing customers, you will always get new customers. Five components in customer relationship, right? We all know good relationship, um, enriching your affiliation or enriching your relationship. That all this boils down to offering good value, superior value. Okay. And doing everything possible to make the customer understand that he is the king and he's most important for you. Now, two types of competitive advantage that firms choose are, one is they want to be cost leaders, right? They want to keep the cost lower than their competitors. If I'm keeping cost lower than my competitors, there is a larger chance that the customer will be attracted to the product that I'm giving him, provided I'm able to give him value for that product. Second is uniqueness. How am I differentiating my product from the rest of the products or the product of my competitor? How am I creating that uniqueness? Am I being different from the competitor? Is again what the customer is going to look at. So these are very important two main reasons why why a business has to, strategize. The business has to strategize because the customer is either looking at something that is very reasonably priced, or he is looking at something that is giving him a different value, a better value than the competitors. Only two reasons. Please keep this in mind: cost and uniqueness. But we will broaden the cost and uniqueness when we talk about business level strategies. But if I'm looking at a competitive advantage that I need to maintain in comparison to my competitors, then I'm looking at these two areas. I'm keeping the last 15 to 20 minutes for interaction, okay? And I will give you marks for the interaction. So please pay attention to all those that I'm mentioning as specific concepts related to business level strategy. Again, here, when we talk about competitive scope, we are looking at broad target, narrow target. Narrow means I'm looking at very niche target. Broad means I'm looking at masses, like a toothpaste, right? Toothpaste is meant for a broad target. An Apple 13 or whatever, the latest, is for a narrow target. So I'm also looking at the competitive scope of my product, whether my product is meant for the broader target or for the narrow target. These two are again very essential when I look at competitive scope. Now, all this put together actually boils down to 5 different business level strategies, which we will look at. Now, Again, when Porter talks about 3 generic strategies, he's talking about focus strategy, differentiation strategy, and overall cost leadership. These are 3 areas that he was focusing on. But when we look at 5
Ma'am,
different, yes,
sorry for interrupt. In manufacturing industry, what is the what is the example of narrow target?
in a manufacturing industry. So if you look at manufacturing industries, again, it is specific to products, right? When I'm manufacturing a product, isn't it? So it all boils down to, again, the product or the in a manufacturing industry. It all also boils down to the product. Let us give me an example of a product, and then I will tell you how it is related to a broad or a narrow strategy.
Okay, let's we take example of BMW air intake manifold.
A BMW will obviously be a very narrow target, right? So when I'm talking about competitive scope here, I'm looking at the numbers. If it is a broader target, the numbers will be larger. Manufacturing numbers would be larger. If it is a narrow target, the numbers will be obviously smaller in comparison to maybe a Maruti Swift, right? So your competitive scope is also in the manufacturing sector. We'll also tell you about how you're going to cater to a broader segment, how you'll cater to a narrow segment. And your strategies will again be determined based on your broader or the narrow segment, even in manufacturing. Because your manufacturing strategies or your strategy related to the manufacturing of that particular product, okay, will also be a part of your value chain. If you can see, we include the value chain analysis in our understanding of strategy, right? So manufacturing is what? Is it primary activity or support activity?
Primary activity.
Manufacturing is undoubtedly a primary activity, right? It's a primary activity. And this primary activity again determines cost. I hope you're understanding and relating it. Why it determines cost? What is the kind of process I'm using? Okay, what's the kind of TQM? Okay, are there any specific strategies which are enabling me to reduce the cost in terms of maybe even the purchase of raw material, which is included in this in the manufacturing process? So a lot of things couples together to also analyze the cost. So it is related to your cost strategy, right? Because cost is again important aspect of business level strategy. When we talk about business level strategies, we are actually looking at 5 different strategies here. Porter is being very, very specific, but we look at the 5 different strategies, business level strategies, which include cost leadership, differentiation, focused cost leadership, focused differentiation, and integrated cost leadership and differentiation. These are the 5, right? But Porter generally puts it as there are 3 areas where we need to focus on, is what he says. I hope I made it clear, Harshad.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
So when you ask questions, I feel you're listening. So please keep asking
Yes,
questions.
yes.
And I think that leads to more scope for explanation. So here he's taking, he's looking at focus strategy, which is more related to a narrow segment, a narrow market scope is what he's looking at, focus strategy. When we look at a broad market scope, it's a differentiation strategy where you have unique competency that you create and overall cost leadership. Now, what is cost leadership? Cost leadership is being a cost leader. A cost leader is one who is able to provide value like the competitors, but giving it at the lowest price. Why? Because he has built in strategies through which his expense or cost for that or price for that product is able to win him some profits. And why? Through the value chain process. Because whenever you are analyzing the value chain process, you are actually determining the price of the product. Because your value chain is the one that actually determines the cost of your product. And then you add up your profits, right? So being a cost leader means you are able to build efficiency and economy in your production. That's how it is connected to manufacturing. And you are able to build in larger margins than your competitor, right? So that is the kind of advantage that you get through being a cost leader. Only one cost leader can be there. Please understand. In those products having the same value, okay, there can be only one cost leader. At the most, maybe, your competitor is also giving at the same price. But otherwise, there will only be one cost leader because only one person can give it at the lowest price.
Ma'am, but here there will be the brand value will also come into play now. Like suppose if customers trust a brand, then they can if even if they charge a little bit higher, then the customers will purchase this.
Obviously, undoubtedly, that is consumer behavior actually, right? Where a consumer feels or there is a perception of certain value that he is getting out of a product. It also is coupled with certain loyalty. Like the Apple users do not want to go to Android, right? There is a kind of a loyalty, there is a kind of a comfort, a perception of status, a lot of such things that is coupled. So they are all creating value. Understand that all this is creating value. In the earlier sessions also, we have discussed value, right? What gives you value? So, Anshul, to go back to your question, yes, a customer will look at value vis-a-vis price. If I feel it is Amazon, which is most trustworthy and can give me the best value, I will not go to a Flipkart or a Meesho or any other or a Myntra because they are giving it at a lower cost. Because I feel that the value that I'm getting out of an Amazon is exemplary. I book today and tomorrow I get the product. While maybe at a Flipkart or other services, it takes longer. So I am judging value by my own measures also. Please understand. That's what is consumer behavior. Where he creates his own perceptions about that product or the service. Teja?
Ma'am, regarding this cost leadership, you told there can be only one cost leader, right? But I have a doubt, like whenever we go out, we will see Ola, Uber, both. Wherever we have less cost, whenever we order Swiggy, Zomato, both. I mean, we see who are the with less price when the more discount we can come. So it's contradicting with the real situation. How we can see this picture, ma'am?
So Teja, that is where you're seeing a cost leader, right? Somebody is offering you less than the other. And there can be only one there. Either it's an Ola or an Uber. Right?
Yeah, sometimes Ola,
And
sometimes
moreover,
Uber.
yeah, let me complete. Moreover, in the case of surge pricing, because these all come under surge pricing. Are you aware of what is surge pricing?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So surge pricing is dependent on the present situation. Okay, it is the price is determined by certain conditions. Like for instance, during the Diwali season, when there are many people traveling, you will find that the cost of the airline's ticket that you purchase will be higher, right?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
instance, if you're traveling from, say, Mumbai to Hyderabad during Diwali, you will find the cost is higher. Whereas in an ordinary time, you will find that the cost is lower. You will find that the cost is higher if you're going to be traveling 2 days later. But you will find that the cost is lower if you are going to purchase this ticket 3 months prior. That is surge pricing. Surge pricing is all based on certain conditions prevalent, and that makes the product costlier, product or service costlier or less costly. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Surge pricing is very important for us as business leaders, because surge price, see, for instance, when you're talking about Uber and Ola, we are looking at both the prices, and both of them have certain algorithms, okay, which actually compute the price. And how is this price computed? Based on traffic, based on location, based on distance, so many things, based on availability of drivers or cabs, and then they calculate the price. Sometimes a mere, airport travel from, say, the airport to Navi Mumbai may cost you as low as 500, because it is not peak time. It's 12 o'clock or 11:30. It's not office time. But if you're going to travel, at that time probably you will pay a 700. But if you're going to travel during the peak time, say around 6 o'clock, when office goers are returning home, you will notice that it has doubled. It's around 1,200 or even more. Why? This is surge pricing. The conditions around, the external and internal conditions determine the price. And this is a quick calculation that AI does for you. AI does this quick calculation for the company and gives you the price that you need to pay. You may have very few cabs around, and so the price may show 1,200 in Uber, whereas in Ola it may show 700, because they have many of the cabs that are showing in the vicinity, right? It's a very interesting concept. Surge pricing is very interesting because this is completely technology driven. It is not man who is assuming the cost. It is technology that is driving the cost through algorithms. And that's surge pricing. So I hope I cleared your doubt.
Yes, ma'am. Bottom line can be there will be one cost leadership, whether who can be. I mean, if it's Ola now, and maybe next time Uber, but there will be only low cost leader is only one.
Exactly. There's only one who can give you at that low cost.
Yes, ma'am.
Even in case of surge pricing. So in surge pricing also, we will look at SpiceJet, we will look at Indigo, we will look at, couple of these airlines that can give you at a low cost. But there will be only one low cost leader. And probably, in surge pricing at that moment, he can be a cost leader at that moment. Again, here it is conditional. And next time somebody else. So there have been times like you, I also look at Ola as well as Uber. And then I see who is offering at a lower cost. If it is Ola that's offering at a lower cost, I go for Ola. And otherwise I go for an Uber mostly, because Uber is mostly low cost. So cost leadership is again very tricky, and I think all of us look at the value that we get. We give a lot of importance to the value of the product or the service, and then we also look at the convenience. Okay, look at so many such aspects that is called value if it is bundled up together. And then we look at the cost. So cost and value, understand, are two important areas that every customer would look at.
From cost and
Value, the differentiating value. Because this has to be a differentiator, the uniqueness that you're creating. Right? Like for instance, take the example again of say a Meru and a Uber. Probably a Meru may give you even at a lower cost, or a black and yellow taxi may give it to you at a lower cost, but we are not going for it. Why? For the convenience of technology, which enables us to get the facility of a cab at the click of a at the click of a finger on your phone. So it's also the convenience, right, which is enabling you to avail that facility.
Ma'am, I have a doubt here. Here it is written the low-cost leader and operates with margins greater than the competitors. Ma'am, what exactly is this margin? It is like quality or value
No,
or both?
margin is only the profit. The
Okay.
profit margin. The profit margin is what gives you the above average return, which makes you also a market leader. You're known as a market leader, right? Because you are able to capture the market through the attractiveness that you have created for your product or your service. And how do you calculate these margins? You have to add the margins to your cost. Like, for instance, say a toothpaste would cost you, say, 70 rupees. What is their cost of manufacturing the toothpaste? That's why we do the value chain analysis, right? The value chain analysis will enable you to build the cost for that product, because every part of it is actually adding value to that product, and you are adding a price to that particular value. And at the end of it, after you finish the whole value chain analysis, you will have to add your profit margin, because your profit margin also is talking about how you're capturing the market share and how you're enabling to give the best to your shareholders also, right? Your profit margin is what you're going to share with your shareholders. You can't share your cost with the shareholder. You will be able to share only the profit with your shareholder. Please understand. Okay, so cost is what we get out of the value chain. The manufacturing, the marketing cost, the logistic cost, so many of these are costs. Plus profits is equal to price of the product. That is how you determine the price of the product. So that is your margin, profit margin, which you create for yourself, which will become your not revenue, your profit. Revenue is actually the whole gamut of profit plus cost that you have incurred. That is actually your net revenue. But then within the revenue, you're finding your profit. And that is what is called your above average returns. So cost leaders are in a position to absorb the supplier price, absorb supplier price increases and relationship demands. So they are able to build in the costs that they have incurred, be it, supplier price, be it logistics. I'm talking about the whole gamut of value chain, everything put together. You're able to really substantiate and build value to the product or the service that you're providing, which enables you to also build relationship with your customer. Continuously improving the efficiency and cost reduction. So you have to continuously monitor, okay, the cost at which you're giving the product, and also build in that efficiency in the product so that you are able to reduce the cost through the efficiency. Cost leaders will always hold an attractive position. Why? People would prefer to buy cheaper products, okay, with the flexibility to lower the prices to retain customers. So you should be ready to lower the price so that you're able to retain your customers. I'm not getting into this value chain because we have already done this in the value chain analysis. And this whole value chain is actually building the cost for the product. Inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. Firm infrastructure, human resource management, technology development, procurement, all this is all building cost to the product. And then you can see the last bit, which is called margin. And margin is the profit that I'm making for the complete value that I've created for the product. We move to the next one. Yes?
Ma'am, small doubt regarding that value chain. We will take the profits from each section, like from supporting activities and primary activities. We will take individually and we will add up the margin section. That's how it is.
Yeah, Teja. The reason is, like, for instance, I can talk as a business leader. For me, each of the departments, okay, have certain costs, right? And each of these departments, I have to analyze what is the cost vis-a-vis the profit that we make for these departments. Again, here, when I look at profit, I may look at in a holistic manner, but then I must also look at which is a department that is incurring maximum cost, and am I getting, returns that substantiate this cost that I'm incurring. Another reason why I have to identify what is the cost vis-a-vis the profits is because if I can reduce the cost through efficiency, if I can reduce the cost through effectiveness of processes, can I not do that? And that is why we are trying to determine individual areas and their costs and understanding how they are connecting to the profits of the organization. Because if you don't break this value chain, what will happen is you will be too much in a chaos. You won't know what is it that you need to really work on. Where is it that you need to build certain strategies internally? Because strategies are both external as well as internal, isn't it? So internally, what is that strategy that I need to plug in is what I need to know. So for that reason, I have to analyze each component of the value chain analysis.
Yes, ma'am. Like in each component, we will analyze the each value, like how much cost it the HR department or procurement is actually taking inbound or outbound. We will write individual components. At the end, what is the overall profit it is generating. So
Exactly.
we will calculate on that basis and how much profit we actually generate. We will see.
Yes. The reason why you have to calculate the cost is to understand. For instance, in human resources, I'm trying to analyze and find out what is the cost that I'm incurring in human resources, right? And then what do? I feel that, yes, my manpower cost is very high. And that is where I would take a call of laying off employees, or I would look at stagnating their increments, okay? And I will look at various other strategies so that I'm able to curtail the cost in my human resources department. Did you understand? At the same time, maybe
Yes,
manufacturing or operations, I will again review because I am understanding what is the cost I'm incurring here. So I will look at processes which will reduce my cost. Because if I reduce cost there, I'm reducing cost of the product. Please understand, they're connected. And then they are again connected to my profits. And that is why this analysis is important, to understand what each of these components actually cost us.
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Yeah, so we move to the next one, and that is differentiation, right? I said these two are very important, cost and differentiation. Differentiation is what is creating that uniqueness, that value, right? And that value can be my perception, but yes, I'm looking at that differentiation in terms of what is it that I'm getting out of this product or service, and how this product can add more value to me. So let me again tell you that when we go to buy a vehicle, right? When we go to buy a vehicle, we look at one, what is the cost of that vehicle, right? Because it's very important for us to know the cost, because I should have that budget to buy that vehicle. Then I look at, vehicles of similar kind, right? If my budget is 8 lakhs, so I'm looking at, or 8 to 10 lakhs. So I'm looking at vehicles between 8 to 10 lakhs. And then I'm looking at, okay, what are the features? Why is one vehicle superior to another, superior than the other? So I'm looking at that uniqueness, right? So when I'm looking at the uniqueness, that is attracting me. I am feeling that there is one vehicle which is 8 lakhs, but another one which is 8.5, but has that uniqueness. So I'm going for that differentiating factor. I feel this is going to help me. This is going to help me better in comparison to a vehicle which is 8 lakhs, which is cheaper, but does not have that value that I'm looking at. So always keep in mind that these two are very crucial strategies, cost and differentiation. Differentiation undoubtedly leads to competitive advantage. Anytime you see a customer is looking at what is that differentiation. If I have to tell you the way I differentiate even e-commerce and offline, I feel I'm not able to really touch that cloth and feel it, and so I don't want to buy that product online. What's the differentiating factor of an offline? I can go to the store, I can view all of them in real time, and then I can also feel the texture of that cloth, and I want to buy that cloth which I'm able to sense and feel. That's the differentiating factor. One of the reasons today many of these outlets are going online and offline is to give the comfort, convenience is again a differentiating factor. So the customer can look at the product online, select the product online, go to the store and ask for that product offline and get a feel of that product. Right? So differentiation is what will touch your heart. It will touch your heart because you want that. You want that because it's different. It's special. It's unique. It has that differentiating feature. So all those set of actions designed by a firm to produce or deliver the goods or services at an acceptable cost that customers perceive as being different. It's an acceptable cost for me when I'm buying the vehicle between 8 to 10 lakhs, right? I've already decided the cost, but I am within this range looking at differentiation, that unique feature, which is valuable to me. And many a times, as I mentioned, it's perception. It's perception. Target customers perceive product value. What is valuable for me may not be of value to you. My HP laptop may be of no value to my son because he uses only Mac and he needs those special features. So always understand that value is many a times perceived. It is a perception, right? You're creating that perception in the minds of the customers. And many times this perception is created by the way the companies strategize through promotional activities. And they make the customer perceive that product value. They make the customer, they compel the customer to perceive the product value. Otherwise, you don't need promotions. You don't need advertisements. What are they intended to? They are intended to create a perception in the minds of the customers. Why celebrity endorsements are needed? Celebrity endorsements are needed to build into the customer's mind that yes, there is great value for this product, and that is why a Kangana Ranaut is using this product. So why not you use the product? Of course, if you don't like Kangana Ranaut, then your value for that product may change. So it's all about how a customer is perceives that product or service. So perception matters a lot, and that is why you have, especially for marketing, you have consumer behavior as a completely new I mean, a different subject, a complete course where you're actually understanding every aspect of consumer behavior. How do you differentiate customized products, create customized products? Like, for instance, I was trying to buy a wardrobe on Amazon. And of course, I could have asked my carpenter also to do it. But then when I was looking at Amazon and I was looking at various wardrobes, I found that they were cheaper. And then I felt that there were certain features that I needed for that wardrobe. So what did I do? I checked with them whether they could customize it for me. And the company which was selling that product got back to me. And that's all through Amazon. Huh? Amazon will not allow the customer to contact the trader, or the trader to contact the customer without their knowledge. So they came back to me and said, yes, in this particular wardrobe, I can customize it, to suit your liking. So I wanted a mirror in it. I wanted, some more inches. I wanted a larger one in comparison to what I saw. So customizing the product is again a way of differentiating. And why I could go for that product is because they are willing to customize it to suit my needs. And they're differentiating it for me. So differentiation can also mean customizing it for a specific customer. Okay.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. What is the difference between differentiation and focus differentiation?
Good question. So when we talk about, though I will come to that, when we are talking about focused differentiation, I'm looking at a very narrow segment. I'm not looking at a broad market. I'm looking at a narrow segment and I'm focusing on that particular segment to buy my product. When you were talking about BMW, when you're talking about Apple, the latest Apple 13, or you're talking about maybe, specific products that are intended for a specific segment and they are priced accordingly. There is a focused differentiation also. For instance, a company that is manufacturing wheelchairs, right? And what is it here? It's a focused differentiation. This is not an ordinary chair. This is a differentiation in the features of the chair, or in the features of the chair. And this is meant for a specific target group, which is not able to walk. Understood? So when I'm talking about focused differentiation, I'm talking about a focused group as well, a focused segment for whom I'm going to cater. I'm not catering for a broad segment. I'm catering for a very specific focused group. Did I clear your doubt?
Ma'am, so we can say that in differentiation, the customer segmentation is much more broader than in focused. Right?
Absolutely. When I'm saying differentiation, I am, say, for instance, Colgate has come out with Colgate White, right? The price is different. And Colgate White has a differentiating feature which makes your teeth look whiter. So people who are wanting white teeth will go for a Colgate White. Now, this is a differentiating feature that Colgate created. I don't think many toothpastes have this. Probably some of them would have even emulated. So you may also find substitutes. But what I mean to say here is, when you're doing a differentiation, could be differentiation in the product, adding value to the product, okay? Bringing out a differentiating feature in that product. That's a differentiation. And that's for everyone. I and you can buy a Colgate White, right? But I and you cannot buy a BMW. I mean, maybe some of you can. I cannot buy a BMW. I don't belong to that segment. So please understand that this is a focused segment that the company is looking at when it is selling its product or the service. And that is focused differentiation. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Though when we talk about focused differentiation concept, I think it will get clearer because we are yet to come there. Are you able to see the presentation?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, it's blank.
Oh, you never told me this.
Ma'am, just before it was blank when you were explaining.
Yes, ma'am, you were explaining at that time it was blank.
Now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
It's seen?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
we can
Yes,
see, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then it's fine. So when we are talking about differentiation, it's a broad scope. We are looking at a larger, a larger number of people for whom you can differentiate. So when I was talking about differentiation and, where I was telling customization, that also comes under differentiation. That's not a focused differentiation. Please understand. That comes under differentiation. I have the product. I can create that customization for you. Right? Customization also comes in the form of, say, you're buying a shirt. Right? And you are a heftier person who needs a 44 size. So you have a 44 size, somebody has a 40 size, somebody can go for a 38 size. So that customization is important, even in differentiation. And that customization is which will give you the larger customer base, a broader customer base. I hope you understood this, right? And that is why you have customized products. Let's look at cost leadership. In relationship to the 5 forces, right? What are the 5 forces? We all know it. The 5 forces are bargaining power of the supplier, bargaining power of customer, bargaining power of, new entrant, substitutes, and competitive rival. Right? These are the 5 which you should always remember, because this could come in your cases. This could come in, short note questions. If we are going to have offline, then obviously it's going to be a subjective paper. I'm not going to this. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, so whenever you're designing your cost leadership or you're designing your differentiation, you're always keeping your customers in mind. Please understand, your customers in mind, because it is the customers you need to attract, right? What are those risks that we associate when we talk about differentiation? Customers determine that the cost of differentiation is too great, right? So I'm looking at a differentiated feature. That means I have to pay extra. So that is what customers are looking at. They are feeling that, yes, a differentiation can lead to a greater cost. The means of differentiation may cease to provide value, because again, value is perception, and the customer is not willing to pay that differentiated value cost. Okay, so that can be a risk, because when you're bringing in differentiation, you may also end up increasing the cost of the product, right? Which customer is not willing to pay. So what do you do for that? Experience can narrow the customer's perceptions of value of a product's differentiated features. So again, the experience that the customer is getting from that product, or when he's looking at many other products, he may think that, okay, this product that I'm using does not have that kind of value, though the company feels it has already differentiated. So customer perception matters a lot. So all these are, some of the risks. Counterfeiting. Okay, you may also have others following your own differentiating strategy and may prove to be, better than you. So cheating can happen. So many such risks happen. Risks are always there in business. In cost level also, you will find risks. in differentiation level also you will find this. Now, what is focus? Okay, I'm talking about generic focus because focus strategies is what Porter talks about, right? So in general, the firm's core competency is used to serve the need of particular industry segment or niche to the exclusion of others. So focus is always, as I mentioned, a specific segment. Using those core competencies for a specific segment. But what happens? It lacks the competency to cater to broader market. That means your customers are very few and you have a very narrow market. So that means you may lose out on the profits that you can get from the larger market share. Firms may direct the resources to certain value chain activities to build competitive advantage. So even in the value chain analysis, you will start analyzing. And probably certain aspect of value chain is more important and you start, building more efficiency there and cost there, and others may get neglected. So focus strategy gets too very focused many a times in terms of internal strategies, in terms of external strategies, and can create a risk factor. And you may also, overlook the small niches where you could actually make some profits, and you may ignore that market. Focused cost leadership, and then you have focused differentiation. As I mentioned, it's all more pertaining to specific customer target. Focused differentiation could also be those value that you add, which can lead to creating the differentiating feature, right? Like using high quality equipment. That is your internal focus strategy, where you are, building more power on the manufacturing systems, creating more intellectual capital through better human resources. Okay, so looking at the industry, looking at what is the product, you can create your own focused differentiation strategies. I'll now talk about integration. I'm skipping some of the slides because they're not very important, and I want to make it as simple as possible so that you're able to focus more on what is important for you to understand in the business level strategies, which I will at the end also sum up. Last, I think we have 1 or 2 minutes more, and then I will move to asking you certain questions. When we talk about integration of your cost leadership and differentiation strategies, we are looking at putting them together, right? I can be a cost leader. I can also be a differentiator. So how do I build that together, right? And let us take the example of IKEA. Can you see IKEA as a cost leader and also as a differentiator?
Yes, as a differentiator, yes, but I don't know about the cost leadership.
Okay. Any other opinion on this? IKEA?
Ma'am, differentiation same. I agree with Anshul, ma'am. I can say that it has a differentiation with its products, but no idea on cost reduction.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am, I agree with Aditi.
Yeah. So, see, in the Indian scenario, we still need to judge whether they can be cost leaders. But yes, in the international, IKEA is considered as a cost leader. IKEA is also considered as a differentiator. Why a differentiator? Any idea? Very good. Yeah, good, Aditi. Yes, they are differentiators in terms of their design as well. Okay, they're differentiators in terms of the range of products that they offer, They are differentiators in terms of the flexibility in the products that they offer. There are so many reasons why they are differentiators. Okay, and they come out with differentiating features in terms of providing services to those customers who come to their outlets. I think this is one place where you all have to go on a visit, to understand the kind of supply chain they follow, the kind of uh, the kind of, I think I must mention the merchandising, the visual merchandising that they carry, the store operations, and so on. IKEA a couple of years back used to also recruit from us. We are still looking at an opportunity to get into IKEA. Hopefully, we should be able to bring them this year. We are looking at that as a chance. But let me tell you that IKEA has a real good differentiating features within the organization as well, within their culture as well. So differentiation and cost leadership, I would call IKEA as a combination of them. So it's an integrated cost leader as well as a differentiator. So there are many such that are differentiators as well as cost leaders. Okay. Any example that you would want to cite? Integration. In the area of integration. Yes? Okay.
Ma'am, software companies, can we say, they offer a different kind of differentiation concept. I mean, the wide range of contracts they will accept, right from a high end to low end. Like startup companies will have a low end, like MNC companies will have high end software contracts, and they have a cost leadership also. Like they will have a tender, of course, and they will quote for the less. Whoever quoting the less, they will do the service.
Okay. Teja, anyways, we cannot, very broadly classify as software companies, because this is again, very specific to certain companies that would follow both. So we will, have to also identify those companies which follow both, which follow integrated. So it cannot be all of them. It could be maybe some of them. Are there those whom you can name them among the software companies that follow both cost leadership as well as differentiation? I would say eyeball.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, TCS generally it quote for less and it have more contracts, and differentiated services also it will give. Like we have more government contracts. I mean, TCS have more government contracts, and it's also give differentiated services to across all world.
Right. So many such companies which would want to follow cost leadership as well as differentiation to have an edge over the market share as well, right? Because they are able to cater to the larger strata of the society, and that's what they're looking at, and that is why they would want to integrate cost leadership as well as differentiation. I would want to skip this. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now quick questions. I have only 10 minutes, but I would like to ask some questions. Keep your camera on while you're answering. And please write your name once you answer. Put it on the chat when you answer, okay? So I'll be taking only those names. So my first question is, which are the 5 different business level strategies? Anybody can answer. I just want the names of the 5 different business level strategies.
Cost leadership.
Yeah.
Differentiation.
Differentiation.
Focus differentiation strategy.
Okay.
For cost leadership strategy, ma'am.
Yeah.
And finally is integrated and
Integrated.
differentiated.
Great. Okay. Teja, Aishwarya, and Nishant, please write your name on the chat. I give you only 5 points, okay? You don't show your face. And you don't show, I'm just going to give you all half. In spite of repeatedly telling you all, you need to show your face while you answer questions. Let me ask you the next question. Give me one example of focused cost leader.
IKEA.
Okay, Aditya, put your
Audible to
name.
you?
Any other?
Am I audible to you?
Very much, Karthik.
Anything that actually offers like something for a very niche market, anything like it can go from arms for the military because that only need licensing for something like that. When the target customer is something they don't bother, for example, like anything pertaining to, for example, medical, right? They don't really care about mass. They only care about their areas more towards the people who are affected, be it the vaccination or be it that those things. So in my opinion, anything that is having a niche, which it is not mass produced, it's more say specific, I would say.
Okay, good, Karthik.
Ma'am, Xiaomi phones.
We can take an example of this thing, McD also, McDonald's. They are basically providing the cheap fast food to variety of customers. It's like more customers.
Okay, Anshul, please jot down your name.
Ma'am, MI
Yes,
phones
ma'am.
also.
Ma'am, it can be also targeting a narrow space, like renting DVDs at $1 or something. A narrow target, you can say, in a market.
Okay.
Ma'am, MI phones is one of the example for the focused cost leadership because they are providing a low cost mobile Android mobile phones for the market.
Okay, Nitish,
In
write
a
your
cheaper rate.
Ma'am, Walmart can also be the example of cost leadership.
Walmart is a cost leader. Yeah. Jitesh,
Yes, ma'am.
he only said cost leader, Aditi. Aditi, he said cost leader. He didn't say focused. That's okay. He added up. No problem. Okay, let me go to my next question. What are the three generic principles that Porter came out with?
Ma'am, value chain, 5 forces,
No, three generic strategies.
centric strategy.
Overall cost leadership.
Ma'am,
Exactly.
differentiation and focus.
Differentiation focus.
Focus differentiation.
Overall cost leadership.
Cost
Differentiation and focus,
leadership,
ma'am.
Differentiation and
Focus.
focus.
Differentiation.
Cost leadership,
And focus
differentiation, and
strategies,
focus.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Overall cost leadership, differentiation, and focus strategy.
Focus.
Okay. All those who spoke, please write your names. Actually, you may have to mute. I think there's a sound coming from your end. Akshat, please mute. Unless you want to speak. Okay, what is competitive advantage according to you, and how is this created? Okay, let's
Ma'am,
what is competitive advantage? Those who
ma'am,
have
competitive.
remain quiet, please. Nishant, you have already spoken, right? Have you? Yeah. Somebody else?
Ma'am, competitive advantage basically it allows the company to produce goods or services that are more better or cheaper than its rivals.
Okay. Any other answer?
It will help us to focus on market. So how's the market is and how we are there.
Okay. Any other? Those who have not participated, because you have only 4 more minutes. You speak, and I'll be able to give you.
Ma'am, to diversify its products or business approach.